Hey there, everyone. Daniel Lowry back in the saddle again for you guys, bringing you another video. This one is going to continue the streak on C2 stuff just because I guess that's the mood I'm in lately. And then, yeah. So we're doing a C2 today. We're going to take a look at Covenant C2. I played around a little bit with it before just to make sure everything will work because sometimes, fun fact, sometimes these things are a bit of a pain in the backside to get to work. Covenant, fortunately, was not that. I mean, it could be, but we'll get there. Let's get to work, shall we? Let's start cooking and see what I'm talking about. So here we are at GitHub, the the keeper of all things awesome, I guess, because there's so many fun things that I find in GitHub, and Covenant being one of them. And of course, you know what to do. You gotta look through here to see what these things do. And now this is going to be a web-based UI. This is going to be like what we saw with Adaptix. This is more going to be like what we saw with Empire. And I know I didn't make a proper Empire video, and maybe I will go back and make an install video for Empire and all that other stuff. But as well as I guess Star Killer is what I'm. Yeah, I know it's a lot of crazy stuff going on there, but we're going to use a web-based UI for this, and it is actually quite nice. It works really well, and it does remind me a lot of Starkiller's UI. But there is a quick start guide, and that is what we want to look for. So you can just hit that. Please see the installation guide to get started with Covenant. Well, yes, I will. Thank you much. Right-click on that, open a new tab. All right, installation and startup. Now, there's a couple of ways in which you can do this. The first is this option 1, Donut Core. The easiest way to get Covenant is to use Covenant is by installing .NET Core. I'm saying Donut, .NET. Oh man, I've got hacking tools on the brain. Donut is a cool hacking tool, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about .NET Core. It says you can download .NET Core for your platform. Here, I do believe that .NET is installed by default. Yes, it is the 4th of July, by the way. We're having some fun. But so happy 4th for everybody watching. Let's take a look, and I think I just have to do the whole .NET -- version. Yeah, so I'm running 60400. But as you can see, it requires .NET Core version 3.1 SDK. So if you want to go through all that rigmarole, I actually started this and it was like, it says this is the easiest way to use Covenant. I do not agree with that statement. I do not agree with that statement. I find the easiest way to use Covenant because I did try doing this, and then I installed Parrot, and it was like, Parrot doesn't have .NET on it. Perfect. Let me get the SDK. Let me download that. Oh, there's dependency hell to go through. Sweet. So yeah, no, that wasn't the best way to get through it. I found this option 2, using Docker, to be the best way to get things running. And this worked really well. This was super easy, nothing to it. So there are a couple of gotchas with Docker. So we only recommend using Docker if you're familiar with Docker or willing to learn the subtle gotchas. Honestly, I didn't have any gotchas. So, I mean, let's just make sure Docker's installed. So Docker -- oh, it's just Docker version. Oh, I might have to sudo that. Sudo Docker version. And put that in. Let's see here. And then a little bit and then there's that. Okay, so I do have Docker installed. Excelente. That should work then. Cool. So, yeah, because I installed it on Parrot because I was already in Parrot trying to do the whole .NET thing. I was like, so they're using Podman, right? Yeah. But I think I have Docker installed here on Kali. But we'll see. We'll struggle through if it doesn't work. And then it's fairly straightforward. You got yourself a little git clone, right? So git clone, that's copy, run over here. And I'm going to go into my tools directory, and then I will shift control V to paste that in and fire it off. A few moments later, 4 hours later, right? And we're done. That was like right on the money. That's funny. All right, so there's Covenant. So I'm going to cd into Covenant. And then I think you need to cd into Covenant again. Yes. Okay. So we've got a Docker file right there letting us know, hey, Docker's going to be the way to fly. Hopefully everything works. So I already did this step right here, cd into Covenants. And now that I'm here, I need to do Docker build Covenant, Docker build -t Covenant period. And for whatever fun reason, they didn't add sudo to this, but you should absolutely sudo this. So I'm going to copy, run over here and do the old sudo that you do, and then shift control V the command, fire it off. And away we fly. Do the things. See, it's doing like .NET for me. I don't have to try to build it. It gets all the lovely little versions that it needs, or the version that it needs, that it requires. See, there it is right there. I see .NET 3.1 SDK right there. Bam. I'm trying to catch it. Okay, and it's done, right? So far, this is going pretty well for the installation. Okay, now it says, now run Covenant with the within the Docker container. Be sure to replace the absolute path, blah, 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 with your own absolute path. So I got to give it that. So let's just copy this, which I did, and let's go and slapola. And of course, you're going to want to sudo. So sudo, and then shift control delete that. It's got a bunch of extra junk in here that we do not need. So we're going to have to go and delete all that business. Like, I don't need that greater than sign. I do need to change this path because it does look for an absolute path. So for me, it's going to be /home/Kali/tools, like that. And then I need to get rid of this less than sign. That is not necessary. What else has it got in there that it copied and it shouldn't have? This all looks right. I think that I'm already running port 80 on this. Let's go check and see if I've got Apache running. I do so many installations for things. I don't remember what I have installed. I guess I could just run, let's go here. Probably have another. Yeah, cool. Sudo systemctl status HTTP, or is it Apache too? I can never. Let's put that in. Did I get that right? I did not. My passwords are a little complex. There we go. Apache 2 service can be found. Is it HTTPD? That can be found. Okay, I don't think I have installed. I can also do a app search for Apache 2. And just to see here, I do have it installed though. That's interesting. It is installed, but it is not running. Okay. Sudo systemctl Apache. It's not. Oh, status. Apache 2.service. Oh, well, you know what I did? I had capitalized it. There we go. All right, it is disabled, so I should be good. There's no conflict there. You would run into a conflict if you have something else running on port 80, because I'm about to utilize port 80 right there. We're also going to need port 7443. Docker's looking good. This is wrong. I don't need any of that. So let's go get that out of there. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. So long. Yes, yes. All right, that looks good. Just giving it the once over, sudo docker run, ITP, bling, bing, bang, 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 and port 443, name covenant, -v, h home, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this all looks good. Hitting enter. And I think we're money. I think that we have, and there you go. Like, yep, bada bang. Navigate to right there in a browser. Covenant has started. Like, honestly, I did a few other things just for verification so that we didn't run into a problem. But that was, I don't know why they think installing .NET is the simplest way to go. It was not fun. It was not a good time for me. That was fairly straightforward. Just throwing that out there, right? So now that we have that up and running, we should be able to access this. Now, it does tell you to go to 127.0.0.1, but you can go to any valid IP for your actual Kali system. So if I want to, I could go to the browser. I could throw in, and I do believe it is HTTPS : // Let me just verify that. Yes, it is HTTPS right there. So put that S on there. Don't forget it. It's probably a good habit by now anyway. And I think this one is like, if I want to, I could go to 10.10.10.136 on port 7443. Right? Yes. I hit the advanced button because it's got a SSL cert that it has no idea about anything. But I'm going to accept that risk and continue because I like to live life on the edge. Now that works, right? I'm here at the login. It's asking me to register an initial user, but you could totally have done the URL that it pumped out there with the 127001. You could just click that link if you want, but I'm just showing you. It doesn't have to be that. It's any valid IP address for the server. So let's create an initial user. This is actually pretty simple so far. So I'm just going to give me my name. Actually, I like to do D. Lowry. That's just habit. So I'm going with that. Give it a password. You're basically registering at this point. Hold on. I am not typing this right. My brain is like freaking out. There we go. That looks better. Okay. The password I was using was just befuddling my brain at this point. I don't know what's going on. Probably just tired. Probably just feeling the burn. I do have the candle lit at all ends that it has available. That is for sure. Okay, so we're logged in. We're at the dashboard. We're looking for grunts, listeners, and taskings. Okay, cool beans. I don't mind that. I see we over here. We got listeners. We got launchers. We got grunts. We got templates, tasks, taskings, graphs, data, and users. I'm going to assume we start with listeners. So you go to listeners and you say, hey, I need a listener. The cool thing about this is I was kicking around, there's this profiles area, and you can create your own listener profile, and it's going to give you a lot of stuff. So if I go to like this custom HTTP profile, or the default, let's go to the default one, right? This is the default profile. It shows you everything about it. It's got a name, what type it is not selected. It has all these HTTP URLs that might be necessary. You can add URLs. So this one's going to en-us test.html. There's this message transform. So it looks like there's a lot of customization that you could do here, and that would be good, right? Because then you can make it really conform to your target's environments. The more you learn about it, the more you can make this look like it's something that would be on their system or in their network. So really cool that this is all in there. And basically you probably want to like remove this whole HTTP response of hello world, make it look like something more useful, more camouflaged, as it were, right? But this is a good one for testing because it's just built in. So that's cool. Let's go back and just hit listeners again. And from there, let's create one. So click the create button. You can go with this default name of whatever the heck that is, but that doesn't seem very descriptive, right? So I like to do things like http-listener-01. I got listener-01. I told you, I'm a little punchy today. All right, and then we got a bind address of 0.0.0.0. So that's good because then it'll hit any usable IP address. And of course, bind port of 80, but you can change it. You can change it to whatever you like. You also have a connect port of 80. Again, if you're just starting out, kind of like what I'm doing right now, you're following the bouncing ball. Defaults are going to be good until you start to really understand the system. So I'm going to leave that like that. It's got a connect address of 172.17.0.2, but that's not the network I wanted to look at. This is probably the Docker network that it's on. That's not where I want to go. I want to use my 10.10.136. So there we go. That should be a whole lot better. Use SSL is false. That's because, right, we're not using SSL. And then, of course, the HTTP profile is going to be the custom one, not the default one. That's cool. Again, I'm going to go with the defaults, even though the default is not the default. That's fun. And I'm going to hit create. Clicky dat. So now I have a listener called HTTP01. I get this nice little pop-up letting me know that things have been done and their status. Rock and roll. Okay, now that we have a listener, right? And if you're just reminding yourself, what is a listener? Explain a listener for me, Daniel, right? If I have a machine out there, I found some way to exploit it. Remember, this is all post exploitation. This is not an attack framework. This is an exploit framework like Metasploit has all these attacks and exploits that you can throw at things. This is a post-exploit framework that gives you a bunch of capability to manage the devices that you have exploited, right? Once you get exploitation done, now it's time to drop your little payload here, which they call a launcher for Covenant, but I've seen it as agents, beacons, so on and so forth, right? Once you have that, you build one of those, but it needs a listener. It needs a way to connect back to your management server, your C2 server, your command and control server. You're learning all that. I've got something in my, it's bothering me. There was something left from lunch. It was just killing me. But you have all that terminology basically giving you the same idea of, hey, I need to be able to manage these things. I need to see them when they check in. And now I can run commands. I can exfiltrate data. I can do whatever I need to do. Okay. So that's what we have here with covenants. And so far, so good. I'm liking what I'm so. We've got a listener ready. Now we have to generate a launcher. And the launcher is going to be the thing that we actually run on our exploited server or our exploited device. So I'm going to go to launchers, and I have a bunch of different launchers on which I could use. Some of them are .NET framework, and it does tell you down here, like, this might not work on Windows 10 and Windows Server 2016. You know what? Let's go back to Covenant's GitHub. And yeah, you can see like the earliest thing, something was updated was like 4 years ago. So this is a little bit of an older, it might not even be being supported anymore. But it's still cool to take a look at and see what you can do, see what you can work with. This is great for lab environments. This is going to be great for you getting hands-on experience with different types of C2s. That's why I do it, is just to get those experiences and see what's the difference between something like this and something like Adaptix. What's the difference between something like this and Sliver, right? How do they work? Are they still useful? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But at least you can set up a lab environment to be able to hook different computers, hook different hosts, and see how that traffic works, see what you can learn from doing the things and get actual hands-on with it. So I still recommend doing this stuff. Okay, so back to Covenant. Let's take a look at some of the things we have available to us. So some of these launchers are like install util.exe to start a grunt, and the grunt is basically the connection between, well, once you fire one of these launchers off on your exploited target, it becomes a grunt. I've seen zombies. I've seen you got the whole idea, right? It's the thing out there that I have remote command of. So it says it's via the uninstall method. We also have msbuild.exe to launch a grunt and using an inline task. We can use PowerShell. We can spit out some straight up shell code. And it is using Donut. So I told you, my brain is fixated on C2 stuff. We can generate a .NET framework binary and launch a grunt. I'm going to go with just straight up PowerShell. Let's just see how that works. Hit the PowerShell, and we've got uses PowerShell exe to launch a grunt using system.reflection.assembly and load. Okay. It's already picking our listener because it was the only one it could, but if there were more than one listener, you could hit that drop down and choose the listener you wish to connect to. It tells us the implant type is grunt HTTP. .NET version is 3.5. It does have 4.0. I'm gonna click it and see what it does. Oh man, this could be fun. Things might not work, but we'll see. If not, we'll try 3.5 and see what it does. Validate cert. Use cert pinning. This is all true by default. You've got delay to mess with. So like how long, what the delay is basically, if I give it a task, if I tell it to do something, how long before it actually does stuff? Because if you're getting that straight interaction with if you're in a C2 and you're basically hands-on keyboard, no delay whatsoever, basically a live interactive terminal, then that is going to create a lot of traffic and you're going to probably get picked up real quick. So you want to add some delay between the time that you issue the command or the task before it actually runs, grabs the output, sends it back. You want some time between that stuff. So messing around with the delay is a really good thing. So maybe you bump it up and go to like 7 seconds. Does that make it take a while? Yes, it does. But that's real life stuff. If you really want hands-on keyboard, yeah, blop it down to 1 second or whatever. But, maybe I'll go with 3 here just to split the difference for the demonstration. Jitter is going to be like, how often does this thing check in and look for new commands? And it's a percentage here. A lot of times it's in seconds or whatever seconds that it might be using. But for here, it is a percentage. I don't know exactly a percentage of what. Maybe of a minute, maybe of a second. So maybe it's waiting 10 seconds. So if it's doing 10% of 1 minute, that would be 10. Like, no, that would be 6 seconds, right? Because 60 seconds in a minute. There you go. I can do math. I'm not a math person. I mean, is my nose bleeding? I feel like it's bleeding. I said the word math and it just sparks a nosebleed every time. But anyway, how many connections attempts it will attempt to try before it just gives up and says, I think the jig is up. I think we've been caught. Disperse, run, stop doing things and stop. We might be in trouble here, right? Then you got a kill date. How long should this stick around before it just kills itself and says, oh, no more. We can't do that. So it just stops the process from running and kills the process. So then parameter string. So this is how it is going to be running within the PowerShell, right? So now we have the ability to generate the PowerShell. We'll click the button, give it a second, and there it is. There's the encoded launcher. You also just have a regular launcher. So if you want to see what that looks like, but I'm going to go with the encoded launcher, and I'm just going to triple click and then copy that. Cool. Now that I have that, we're going to jump into a Windows 2022 server that I've spun up. Defender is off. I tried running stuff. Again, this is many, many years old. Things out of the box are guaranteed to be signatured. They're not going to work. But we're just building a lab and we're testing and we're learning. So it's okay. You have permission to turn off Windows Defender and say, please stop stopping me. I want to be able to play with this. I want to be able to learn from it. So it's okay for you to stop these things or create like an exclusion folder or whatever so that you can allow this stuff to run. And technically, if for whatever reason, I'm just trying to give it as much credit as I can. If you were able to compromise this system via some mechanism, you could create a protected enclave that Windows Defender does not look at. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what you would want to do is look through this, learn how to obfuscate a whole lot better the stuff that it gives you so that it does not get busted. End of sermon. It's okay to turn your stuff off. Let's jump over into Windows 2022. All right, here it is. Here's our server. And let's just open a terminal. And from there, let's jump into, I'm going to go into downloads, which I don't have anything in, right? It's just empty. So I'm going to use curl to grab this. So curl, HTTP. Oh, that's the other thing. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to curl anything. I normally have to download because I get an exe, but this is straight PowerShell. I can just run PowerShell, right? Sweet. And then right click and paste. There you go. And just paste that money right in there. That is the benefit of being all on the same network and working in a virtualized lab environment, because I get to copy pasta from one thing to the other. Otherwise, I would have to have loaded this into a file somehow and downloaded it, gotten it uploaded into, and that could be as simple as FTP, HTTP server from Python, whatever the case is. But I get to just right click and paste. That's kind of nice. All right, now that it's in there, you notice it's just a bunch of base64 encoded obfuscation. Fire it off, which then killed the terminal. But let's go check back at here. And this is where we want to look for grunts. So if I go to grunts, oh, look at that. Grunt activated. Grunt 2A F69C703B from Win Server has made its way here. And we do have a connection. And if I'm in my dashboard, as soon as I log in, I'm going to be able to see all this, the listener that's there, when that was started, last check-in, a lot of great information. And of course, grunts going to be the number one priority. I want to see, do I still have access to the things that I hope to have access to after I've logged out and logged back in? There it is. You can see the host name is Win server or Win 2022 server, administrator, integrity is high, last check in, all looking good. So let's go over to Grunts. No, you could have done it from there, but I'm just going to go to Grunts so we can look at this. And then you click on the name, and that takes you here. Shows us the status of active, the type, like how are we communicating? We're using HTTP. .NET version 4.0 seemed to be very good. We got good integrity. We're not using certs or cert pinning. The process is PowerShell, the activation time, and when the last check-in was. There's the name. I could create notes about this. So if I was actually on an engagement, I can actually start to modify. So if I needed to edit anything, I could, and that would be great. All right, so let's go to the Interact tab. So in here, and I am going to kind of give us a little extra useful room. And down here is where it gets real fun because it's got all these post-exploitation things like Mimikatz. Right? So yeah, could I run Mimikatz? Again, I have not tested this. All I did was I saw that it had all these great post-exploitation modules, SAMDump, logon passwords, bypass UAC command. Like this is the money here. So if it works, I'm going to click that and then clicks. You can't see it's behind my head. It has send right here. Click that. And then you got to wait, right? Because Mimikatz has been sent, that has been tasked. It did run. And then it did get an error. That's cool. There's no logon list or this cool msecula acquire LSA logon list. It did give me privilege debug though. But there you go. Oh, okay. So that didn't work out of the gate. That's cool. What about other things like logon passwords? Can I run that? Because that'd be fun. Command has been submitted. Logon passwords has been uninitialized. It has been tasked. And I'm just looking like right there to see what it's doing. It's kind of updating you as it goes. That is a nice feature. That is a sweet feature. Again, it was unable. I think that, so those commands must be the same. If you just run logon passwords, it is identical to running the Mimikatz privilege debug, securl sub stuff. Okay, so that's good to know. I think there's also like Rubeus stuff. So like Rubeus, yeah. Look at that. So if I wanted to, I'm going to try Kerberos. See what that does. And just click enter. Scroll down. We can see that it has been tasked. We're just going to wait for that. I don't know if it'll take long. It has progressed. That's good. It is completed. And anything. Oh, you know what? I bet you have to use like all the Rubeus commands, right? Okay, it did something. AES hashes will return AES or blah, 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 blah. Use ticket X or ticket delta to force researching. No users found to Kerberos. This is a vanilla install, so I'm not super surprised. I just kind of want to see how it would work and how it would run. That's really cool though. Okay, so tons of post-exploitation stuff. There's Seatbelt installed, like many different tools. So if I were running this on like Game of Active Directory, or if I was working in offshore labs or something in hackthebox, this might be a really cool tool to be able to utilize for post-exploitation in those environments. I like it. I'm loving it. Got a couple other things. Let's go take a look. We've got some templates. These implant templates. So if you wanted to build your own implant template, that's probably a good idea for having these grunts. We used this one, but we could create our own. If you want to look at the tasks that have been sent out, you get a nice little helpful library here. We can look at the recent reference library. Like we can see there's Rubeus, there's Seatbelt, SharpD, Pappy, SharpDump, SharpUp, SharpSploit. All these are already installed. So if you wanted to get crazy, you might be able to come in here and add some more reference libraries with the old create button. That could be fun. Let's see here. We have Taskings. So what have we told it to do? We can see the history on that. That's going to be useful, especially if you're writing reports. Let's go look at the graph. So here's a graph, and we can see that that grunt is connecting back to HTTP listener 01. Good to know there. Let's take a look at data. We have no credentials, but if we did, they would be stored here in a nice little database for us. Indicators, cool. Still like kind of like working with the grunts and the listeners and all that other fun stuff. We can see Win 2022 server with the example of administrator. So that, oh no, I'm sorry, not the example of administrator. Example.com is the domain that I use to spin that up. Any downloads that we've done, we've got right here. So if we downloaded stuff or if we took screenshots, that would be super cool. If we go back to grunts and we hit that, can we do that? Can we? I want a screenshot. That would be fun. Give me that screenshot. Get all clicked in here. This is one thing that I have noticed about this. So I am clicked in and I am typing and it is doing jack nothing. That is one of the big complaints I've had about this so far, is that the GUI UI is a little janky. It's a little bit jankaroo. And I can go back through what I have, but I can't type. And when that happens, you got to log out and then log back. Actually, I think I need to close the tab even and then log back in. HTTPS s:// 10.10.10.136, and then that was on port 7334. Bam. Right? Wasn't that where we were at? I want to say that's correct. Go back to where I started it. It will tell me 7443. Daniel, you crazy person. That doesn't even make sense. 7443. There's my brain doing the thing that it's not supposed to do, where it backwards things. It does that a lot, and I do not like it. All right, username was D. Lowry. Now I should just be able to log in. And there you go. So now I can click on my grunts. I can go to interacts, and hopefully now I can type into this. So it does gets a little jankaroo from time to time. And now let's try screenshot. Yeah, cool. Let's click screenshot. We should be just waiting for this to return. Oh, I got to hit send. Helps if you hit send, Daniel. So screenshot was tasked. And there it is, right? How cool is that? That's super cool. Great way to grab to see what the user is doing, especially if you're on a red team engagement and you want to make sure that your user is not actually hands-on keyboard at that time. Hey, is anybody doing anything? Let me take a screenshot real quick before I start getting all crazy. And, oh, okay, I don't see any windows open. I don't see anything happening. It's a good bet that even though they're logged in, they're not at the keyboard. I can probably start trying things. So that's cool. I wonder if that shows up over here. Not in tasks, in data. Go to screenshots. Yep, there it is. So now I have all these screenshots. So if I needed to take a screenshot for a report on something I was doing that was hands-on keyboard kind of stuff, I could grab a screenshot of it, or just grab a screenshot and saying, hey, I obviously am able to, put my hands on your device in some way, shape, or form, because here's a screenshot of it right here. So that's kind of cool. And then if you need to, you have more operators. You got this users down here. So we click on users. I can click creates, give it a username. So we'll go with like B Smith. And the password, give it a password, confirm the password, and then click creates. And bada bing, we got B Smith. Now you notice the B Smith is only a user. I could go into B Smith and I could edit the roles and start adding more roles to them, which is a really cool option. So if you're managing a team of red teamers, or you're part of a team and you're an administrator of the system, you could get in there and give people the permissions they need to do X, Y, or Z. But there you go. There's Covenant C2. I don't find too much fault with it. That whole, I can't type stuff, that does kind of annoy me. But it's just that. It's more of an annoyance than it is that it doesn't have great functionality, because it does seem to have some good functionality. I would probably want to spin up Game of Active Directory and see how it would do with that. So that's probably the next fun thing I want to do for my own home lab stuff, just to see how well this works. Because having that UI there, that's not bad. That's a nice touch. I like it. Very similar in what you get with Empire and Starkiller. And so that could be a good. Which one do I like better? I'd have to look more into Starkiller and Empire to see what they have post exploitation module wise and what it could do, because having Rubeus and SharpUp and all that stuff, that's kind of nice. All right, well, that was fun. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, you got some value out of this, you know what to do. Hit the like and subscribe button. Helps the channel, and we can do more stuff like this, which is fun. And that's what it's all about, having fun. If you're not having fun, then you're not doing it right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, keep hacking.